morning, Mr. Charles.
Good morning, Minister.
Morning, Tommy. Hope your wife is over the flu. Morning, Sheila. Any worries, come round to the office. Michael, keep up the good work. How's life, Norman? Still full of ups and downs, eh? That son of mine in yet, Norman?
Mr. Bryan has been here for ages, sir.
Wear your pretty fingers out, kid. I'll just go straight through.
Good morning, Father.
You have a fine pair of legs, Judith, for a nice Dublin Catholic girl.
Thank you, Mr. Menton.
It might make for increased productivity if we saw less of them.
Father, all the young girls wear short skirts now.
Not in my employment, they don't. Tell that girl in the outer office to dress less sparingly as well.
Leave us for a while, would you, Judith?
Yes, Mr. Bryan.
This sort of thing undermines my authority, Father. I really think you might speak to me first.
Authority? You couldn't run a bingo hall. Now get your coat on and we'll go to court.
You're surely not going to hear that case.
We are. Don't you want to know how everything turns out?
Oh, I'd much rather wait and read it in the evening papers.
You brought the charges against Conway. You were the star witness. You will at least hear with your own ears the verdict and sentence.
To hear you talk, anyone would think I was to blame.
Because you couldn't tell an ordinary crime-catching cop that young Conway tried to rob you. Someone I could have had squared or sacked. Oh, no. You had to pick on Chief Bloody Inspector Flaherty.
Am I to blame if somebody pulls a gun on me?
Conway's father's an old IRA man, a comrade of mine. So is Flaherty's father, and both of them have long memories and vicious tongues.
I never cared what people said about you before.
10 years for first offence? That's a bit stiff, Inspector, even for armed robbery.
Well, the first offense bit doesn't cut any ice with Judge McCarthy. He thinks that all criminals are born that way.
Oh, we have company, Inspector.
God. Jack Conway is all I need at the moment. Hello, Mr. Conway.
You done your master's bidding well, Inspector Flaherty. My God, your father must be well ashamed of you. How much did Charlie Menton pay you? Promotion?
I think you better go on home, Mr. Conway. There's nothing more you can do now.
Oh, no. It's all been arranged for me, hasn't it? I didn't see Charlie Menton here at all, Flaherty, and that's odd. I really thought he had the guts to see the results of what he started.
Mr. Menton doesn't tell me his plans.
He doesn't have to, does he? You're all so well trained.
Look, Mr. Conway, you've been through a lot. Why don't you go on home like a decent man?
Aye, I'll go home and pray. I pray that neither you or Menton ever has an hour's luck. Or if you do, may I die roaring.
You're a very patient man, Inspector. Wouldn't have been me. No, Jesus, I'd have run him so fast his feet had never touched the ground.
Just Mr. Friend of yours, Mr. Menton.
Why do you think I was hiding back there? How did his son get on?
They gave him 10 years.
Oh, mother of divine God. Poor Jack Conway must be heartbroken.
He's badly broken up, all right, Minister.
I hope you're bloody well happy now.
He blames me, Inspector. Did you ever hear the likes?
Oh, I think your son behaved very bravely, Minister. Not everybody would tackle a man with a loaded gun.
No, Ned. Only a congenital bloody idiot would.
Oh, I don't know.
By the way, Inspector, I'm sorry you were unable to help me in this little matter.
I wouldn't drop a case against you, Minister. Why should I fail in my duty to someone else?
Still, all's well that ends well.
Ends well. Poor Jack Conway is heartbroken, and you say all's well. Well, I only hope old Jack thinks like that. What's he going to think of me at all? What's your father going to think of me?
Well, it was a fair trial, Minister. Randy saved about 5 years in the sentence. He could have got 15.
Cops and criminals have a fearful logic.
Except that the criminal science of reasoning seems to be more clear-cut than the policeman's.
Don't see how you make that out, sir.
No? When I started on the beat, Sergeant, I was earning less than £500 for the first year. After 20 years, I was still earning less than £700 a year. The past 5 years, I've been getting £2,000 as an inspector. 25 years catching criminals, and I've made about, 30,000 quid out of it. Now, do you know of any self-respecting pro who would rob for as little as that?
Talking to criminals makes a businessman uneasy, Ned. We'd best be going. Give my regards to your father, and tell him the bank robber is doing all right.
I'll do that, Minister.
Hello, lads.
Will you look at Charlie Menton's babysitters trying to pretend they're not cops?
Soft job guarding ministers.
Nowadays, it is right enough.
Hey, what did Charlie Menton mean by that, sir?
What?
Tell him the bank robber's doing all right.
My father, Jack Conway, and Charlie Menton robbed £50,000 from the Royal Empire Bank during the Troubles.
I thought you meant robbing for himself. The criminal sort.
Wonder why Charlie Menton was so concerned as to what Jack Conway and my father would think.
Well, sir, old comrades and the children of old comrades.
Now, Charlie Menton is really worried over something. Come on.
A very irreverent man was Billy Shakespeare. Macbeth, the Richards, Hamlet, all royal. All lunatics and murderers. I suppose the only sane one was Desdemona, and even she was a nut.
Do you think he was a genius, though?
Oh, begod, there's no doubt about that, son. A man would have to be a genius to write like that for an Englishman.
You called Shakespeare irreverent. Because if there's any other man with less reverence than yourself, Dad, he must still be in the womb. You respect for nothing.
Criticizing God he was just before you came home. Said God was a fool. God, mind you.
He was talking about the Lord's Prayer, woman, and the people who wrote it.
Thank you, love. I never even thought you knew any prayers, Dad, let alone the people who wrote them.
He knows a sight more than his prayers, I can tell you.
The Lord's Prayer is a lot of credo claptrap, meant to make God as human as the clerics.
It might do you a bit of good if you said it in odd time.
Oh, so you want me to blaspheme too, is that it? Have you ever thought about the Lord's Prayer, woman?
Well, I'm sure I've thought about it a great deal more than yourself, Tom Flaherty.
Then you see that God was a bad influence.
God forgive you.
Then why do you think we have to beg him not to lead us into temptation?
You're worse to pay any attention to him.
Lead us not into temptation, but to Lord almighty, Ned, he has me all mixed up.
I think we better leave the theosophy alone, Dad. Tonight, anyway.
Theology, Dad. Theosophy has to do with the knowledge of God by direct intuition or special personal relations.
Theology or theosophy, knock it off. You're upsetting your mother.
That'll be for me, Adrian. Tell him I'll be out as soon as I get my coat on.
Bring whoever it is in, child. Don't leave anyone standing at the hall door. Who is it, anyway?
Oh, it's his pension night, Ned. Need you ask?
It's Mr. Conway, Grandad. Yeah. I asked him to come inside, but he said he'd rather wait.
God look down on him, Ned. His poor son.
Yes. We know all about that.
Oh, I'm surprised he ever came back to this house.
Hasn't he been coming here to see your grandfather since before you were born?
Well, you know, Dad, after all we've done on him.
What have you done on him?
You know, Dad, the sins of the father are usually visited on the rest of the family.
Sins? You bloody young upstart.
I'm 21 years of age. I'm well entitled to express my opinion.
He's the image of your father getting. What's bred in the bone, Ned?
Well, that's the way with the old. You trample on the young and force them to accept your stupid conventions.
Well, if not being rude to people is one of our conventions, I'll go along with that. Look, is it the diplomatic service you're in, or the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art?
The service expects a more cultured class of person than lesser government employees.
God, you might be right, son. Well, most of the ambassadors I ever met were great bloody actors altogether.
Some of us appreciate better things.
Well. Well, I don't know. He was reared with a pat on the head. Now it looks too late for a kick in the arse.
For all I knew, Charlie, it might be nothing at all. But he had that habit in the old days, if you remember. You know, before he went out to shoot someone, he always went to confession. Eh? No, well, I didn't see him have a weapon, but for all that again, he could have got home and got one. No, no, Charlie, I know damn well you're not worried. It's not you I'm concerned with. No, Charlie, no, I didn't mean that as it sounded. But if one of your guards saw him hop over the garden wall, they might shoot him on sight. Bitter. Oh, by God, he's bitter all right, Charlie. Oh, you can believe that. Now, maybe he's only going round to persuade you. Maybe he's not going to hear you at all. But if so, why did he go to confession first, Charlie? Oh, well, I've done all I can. Have it your own way. Yeah, bye, Charlie, bye. Silly old fool.
Jack. I never thought when I said you should drop in sometime that you'd take me literally.
This is no joking matter, Charlie.
Oh, you're telling me you could have got yourself killed climbing up there. There's a drop of 40 feet from that window.
Who else is in the house besides yourself?
Well, there's Mrs. Scranton, she's next door, and Brian is somewhere about. And of course, there's the 2 inside security men who make sure that a man gets a good night's sleep without waking up to find gun-toting, avenging fathers cluttering up his boudoir.
I don't know how to kill you.
Oh, thank God for that, Jack. Do you mind turning the barrel of that gun in some other direction? It looks old enough to be able to go off by itself.
I don't know if I should make you die slowly, or if you ought to be allowed to die mercifully and quickly.
Let it be slowly, by all means, Jack. Death is the child of old age. Let senility take care of its own progeny.
I might be inclined to allow that, Charlie.
I always knew you were a reasonable man.
On one condition. You will sign a statement admitting the truth about the Royal Empire Bank. You will admit in detail that you were a fraud, a liar, a hypocrite, and a cheat.
I'll have my secretary draw up the document first thing in the morning.
You'll sign this. I have made copies for all the newspapers. It's been witnessed by Tom Flaherty.
Now, that was thoughtful of Tom.
It'll destroy the public life you've made for yourselves. It'll tarnish the name of your son. The people in the street will treat you as a leper, and that will mean that my son's imprisonment has achieved something.
That's the best idea you've come up with all night. Here, give me the confession. Let my pen do the penance. I deserve this punishment as much as any sinner.
I hid the truth for years, Charlie, because I didn't want the name of the old movement to be tarnished. But it couldn't go on. Even you must realize that.
It's the terrible inevitability of old age, Jack. When I was young, I didn't know enough. Now that I'm old, I don't know any better. When I see you put that thing away, or the confession, I mean, I feel like a sinner who has been saved for his Redeemer.
You can drive me home now.
Oh, but I don't drive myself, Jack, but I'll get Brian to do it. One Menton hostage for your safe return is as good as another, eh?
Call him then. But remember, this thing in my pocket is still cocked.
Oh, it's not the only thing around here that's cocked. Brian! Brian!
Ned, there's somebody downstairs.
I hope you're right, Mary. Otherwise, that noise below has been made by nothing. And I don't believe in that sort of thing.
I'll go down and see who it is.
That's me father.
Ah, God almighty, it's 1:30.
I thought I heard your father come in and go to bed a while ago.
Well, in that case, there must be 2 of them. God forbid. Is that you, Dad?
Who are you expecting? May West?
Well, why are you making all that noise?
I didn't make any noise. It was that bloody hall stand there. Keep stepping in front of me every time I get a few jars.
Go to bed.
Of course I will. Where in the name of Jesus did he think I was going at this hour of the night?
Still thinks he's a young fella. I don't know.
It's no use asking me. I only married into you.
Ah, what the hell now? Yes. Good night, son. Good night, Good night, Mary.
Good night, Tom.
Ah, Jesus wept. Yes. Oh, it's you. Have you any idea what time it is? Look, Sergeant, if he's dead, he's dead, and my presence at this hour of the night will make no bloody difference to that. Yeah, all right. All right. I'll be with you in about 20 minutes. Well, you needn't bother letting me lie on tomorrow morning, Mary. I'll already be up.
Have you lost something, Inspector?
You haven't got my sergeant in that portmanteau of yours, I suppose.
Oh, no, he said he was going to try and ring the forensic boys. There's no telephone here, you see.
Telephones would have to be his main worry.
Yeah.
Suicide?
Well, you know, I think he was shot somewhere else. And as far as I can see, without waiting for any tests, there's no sign of powder on his hand, so somebody else pulled the trigger.
What makes you think he was shot somewhere else?
Well, as far as I can make out, although the bullet went straight through the head, an artery was cut inside. But yet, if you look here, all you can see is some congealed blood around the entrance wound.
word for it.
But I'm sorry, Inspector. I had no idea you were squeamish.
I can't even bear to see raw meat in a butcher slab. There should have been blood around the corpse had he died here. Is that what you mean?
Well, yes, that's what I would have expected.
Any idea how long he's dead?
Well, when the corpse was found, it had traces of wool around the hips and shoulders, so it was probably covered with a blanket, I imagine. Now, that way the temperature would have been raised. Plus the fact that there's, or at least there was before we opened the doors and the window here, very little ventilation. But still, I should say he died within the last 3 hours.
Earlier rather than later.
Oh, I think you could safely assume that he died, say, between 11 o'clock and midnight.
Well, there you are, Sergeant. You get the technical crowd out all right?
Yes, sir, they'll be along shortly.
Have we any idea who he is?
Well, don't you know, sir?
No. Oh, Lord. Yeah, come in.
It's your father, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Sergeant. See we're not disturbed, will you?
Yes, sir.
Sit down, Dad.
Why the hell did you ask me down here, Ned? If any of me friends
Why don't
saw
you
me-
sit down, Dad?
I'll not be staying that long, thank
As you wish.
Look here, Ned. I never objected to you and in for this Polish cherry on. I knew you hadn't the same ideas as myself, so that was that. But don't take silence for a cent, Ned. You want help for something, you must get that help from somewhere else.
When did you last see Jack Conway?
Sure, don't you know damn well I saw him last night?
What time did you leave him at?
I didn't. He left me about 10 o'clock. Look here, son. What's behind all this?
You're sure he left you at 10 o'clock?
Well, I didn't time him exactly. But I had at least another hour's license drinking before we shut the Polish out. Why don't you ask Jack Conway?
Jack Conway is dead.
Oh, Jesus. The poor old whore. How?
Shot in the head.
Murdered?
Look, Dad, have you any idea why he left you so early? I mean, it's hardly his form to leave an open pub.
It's hard enough to get him out of a closed one. Well, he went along to see Charlie Menton.
Charlie meant?
In old Egypt. I had this crazy idea that Charlie should be punished for his son's imprisonment.
What?
I feel I'm in some way responsible.
Why do you say that?
Well, I rang Charlie last night and asked him to keep an eye out. I didn't want Jack getting his head blown off, or getting into Menton's place. Is that where it happened?
We don't know yet. What did Charlie say when you told him?
Well, that sort of thing wouldn't scare Charlie Menton. He was too big a man to be worried about an old-time scandal.
What sort of scandal?
And Charlie wasn't as altruistic to the cause as a lot of people were led to believe. He kept back some of the proceeds of a big raid the three of us did for his own use.
The Royal Empire job in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
How much did he keep back?
Well, we took £100,000, not 50.
He kept back £50,000? Ah, now look, are you telling me that Charlie Menton, our noble Minister of State, our leading industrialist, stole £50,000 from his own comrades?
Well, no, he didn't steal from them.
But you just said
he
he stole.
didn't give it to them, that's all.
And he calls himself a patriot.
You see, Ned, it was before the new government came in, after the British. Now, the bastards had sold us out, and we opposed everything they stood for. What did you want Charlie to do? Hand them back the £50,000 for them to buy bigger guns and build stronger prisons for to keep us in? Well, here, Charlie wasn't the only one.
Well, he could have given the money to the anti-treaty side. I mean, you people could have done with it, couldn't you?
You're putting your questions to the wrong man, Ned. I didn't like my side. The only reason I stayed with them was because I liked the other side a hell of a sight less. Well, Charlie got the state that he dreamt of, where Irish landlords could rob the Irish people without the English ones poaching on their preserves.
God, I give up. Look, before you go, Dad, a lot of people saw you last night. I mean, there can be no doubt about what time you stayed in the pub.
None out, son. None at all.
I have to be quite sure you can't be implicated in any way. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to handle this case.
You don't think it would be wiser, son, for to hand this business over to somebody else?
Hmm? Why?
But if I was you, I wouldn't tangle with Charlie Menton, or you'll find yourself pounding a beat away somewhere in the wilds.
You think Charlie killed him?
He's quite capable of it. And he's quite capable of destroying anyone who would try to prove it. Don't go after Charlie, Ned.
The law's been broken, Dad. Whoever is responsible should be prosecuted.
The law? Charlie Menton and his friends are the only law around here. How the hell could you be an honest man when it's crooks make the law?
Sergeant, my father's ready to go. See that he's driven home, will you?
You have a hell of a lot to learn, Ned.
Do you smoke, Inspector?
No, thanks. I'm trying to stay off them.
Oh, I wish I could. Oh. What can I do for you?
I'd like to examine the records for May 1921. Royal Empire you were then.
You already have permission from head office.
Well, no, I haven't, but,
Oh.
Look, man, this is a police matter.
I'm sorry, Inspector. I couldn't possibly help you without head office's authority. Now, if you'd like to go to them.
Right. I'll be back. I'm sorry, sir. I must see those records. It's a matter of life and death.
I'm afraid not, Inspector. Not without a court order, much as our job's worth.
A court order?
A high court order, Inspector.
Hey, you forgot to cross your T.
He dropped like a thief in the night, almost on top of my bed.
At what time would that have been, Mr. Menton?
I haven't the foggiest.
You couldn't say, even approximately?
Listen, Inspector. When a nut is standing in front of you, and you armed only in a pair of pajamas, and this loony waves a gun at you, you forget all sense of time, past, present, and future.
What do you think he wanted?
You know damn well what he wanted. He wanted me to admit to stealing the right amount of money from the Royal Empire Bank on our famous raid.
What do you mean, the right amount of money?
Oh, come off it, Ned. Haven't you been trying to get at the records for the past 2 days?
You knew about that, eh?
Well, I knew you'd try for them.
When did you know?
About half an hour after I learned that Conway was dead.
Was that before or after we learned of his death?
Begad, Ned, that's a terrible leading question altogether, huh?
Well, this question you needn't answer if you don't choose, Mr. Menton.
If I didn't choose, I wouldn't answer any of your questions. I invited you here, remember that.
Did you kill Jack Conway?
Now, why would I want to do a thing like that?
Oh, fear of exposure?
If politicians worried about what dirt people would drag up, there wouldn't be any such a profession as politics.
That's pretty cynical, Minister.
We still win elections.
How many would you win if people knew the truth of what you think?
People don't vote for me, Ned. They vote for the party. And the party will ensure that the people see me in my proper image.
What if someone were to tell them that you're not all you're cracked up to be?
Who, you? I have men who'd run you down the street so fast.
Yeah, but then the damage to you would be done.
Don't you believe it, old son? Things like that just can't happen in a democracy. Now, when radio, TV, newspapers, and all other means of communication are in the hands of the chief Democrats.
If you think the state is to be subjected to such contempt, I'll see you in hell first.
Hell, Ned, is a matter of opinion. If you're ever likely to get there, don't readily expect the rich and powerful to be your companions.
To get back to the matter in hand, Minister. As the last person to see Conway, you're naturally...
Makes you so sure that I was the last person to see Conway. Alive, I suppose you mean?
And weren't you?
The last person to see Conway was my son, Brian. He drove Conway to his home.
You can prove that?
2 of your chaps saw him into the car with Brian, and another one opened the gates.
Oh, then I'd better have a little chat with Brian, hadn't I?
You like being an inspector, Ned?
I can put up with it.
Looking forward to being a superintendent?
Well, why stop there, Minister? Why not assistant commissioner? Or even commissioner?
You should be grateful that you're an inspector.
When I get tired of the job, I'll let you know.
You seem to be letting me know already.
I don't communicate well at the best of times, Minister. Anyway, perhaps I'll be able to make myself better understood with your son. Tell him I'll be in my office this afternoon. I'll be looking out for him.
Be sensible, man. Look out for yourself.
What have we got there, Sergeant?
It looks like a bullet hole, sir.
Hey, God, I think you might be right.
Not thinking of ruining my decor?
If I find what I think is in this wall, Minister, it's more than your decor that's going to be at risk. Now, if you don't mind, sir.
I like that wall the way it is.
Obstructing a police officer in the execution of his duty is a very serious offense, Mr. Menton.
Not half as serious as breaking a man's wall without warrant or provocation.
You want me to get a warrant?
That's the law, Inspector. I invited you here to talk, not to pull the place down around my ears.
Very well, Mr. Menton. I'll get a warrant. You stay here. And don't you stir till I get back. What the blazes are you doing out here?
What's that, sir?
I said, what the hell are you doing out here?
Well, the minister told me to stand out here. He said he's some work he wants to be able to concentrate on.
Who's kicking up that row?
Well, sir, I've an idea. They're knocking down that wall we wanted to examine.
Who are?
4 big labouring fellas. They came in here just after you left.
Who the hell does that fella think he is?
Ah, Inspector, come in. That hole spoiled that wall for me. Much the same as when I got a cigarette burn in a brand new 50-guinea suit. It could have been invisibly mended, but then I'd always know the suit wasn't perfect, wouldn't I, Ned?
I gave you fair warning, Mr. Menton, that it is a grave breach of the law to interfere with material evidence that may be connected with the commission of a crime.
A wall, Ned, is a wall. If it's on my property, it belongs to me. And if I choose to pull it down, then I'm entitled in law to do just that. A wall is evidence only of its own existence, and the non-existence of matter bears no relation to anything but solipsism.
Well, the law might put a less glib construction on the existence or non-existence of that same wall. Come on, let's get out of here before I puke.
You're not going to search the place? What a waste of a warrant.
I have more than one warrant, Mr. Menton. I also have a warrant for the arrest of your son.
For what, may I ask?
For murder, Mr. Menton. That's for what?
Well, sir, I don't see why we can't just go out and pick him up.
We haven't got enough evidence in which to charge him with anything.
But you told his father that
His father doesn't know how much we actually have to go on.
Well, what do you mean, sir?
Well, the gun was Conway's own. The very fact that he climbed into Menton's window, daft feat at his age, is proof only that he wasn't all there.
Well, so we leave it. Just like that. Well, sir, that's not the most scientific approach.
The science of criminology is not a perfectly exact one, Sergeant. And how do you put emotions, doubts, fears, suspicions under a microscope? I'd like a quiet look at Menton's office.
Ah, well, sir, we can't just break in.
Who said anything about breaking in? Jack Dolan's on the beat there. If he sees anything suspicious, he's duty-bound to ring us here. And I doubt if there are many other people on duty besides ourselves.
You wouldn't have asked Jack to ring it this time now, would you, sir?
Get that phone quick. Tell him we're on our way.
Yes, sir.
No, wait. Worried?
A little bit, sir. More for you than me. After all, I only follow your orders. Look, sir, I don't see why we can't just serve Menton with the warrant in the morning.
Haven't pulled another fast one? No, I don't want to put Menton to the expense of tearing the whole building down.
But I don't get it, sir. What are we looking for? A mouse wouldn't find anything in here.
Hand me the jemmy and the torch, man.
Yes, sir. God, you've more housebreaking equipment here, sir, than a burglar.
Set a thief, like. No. It's just about there we saw the hole, isn't it?
Yes, sir, that's about it. As you can see, the wall's gone. The carpet, too. They seem to have stained the bloody floor, even.
Not underneath it, Sergeant.
Underneath it, sir?
Underneath it, Sergeant. Look down there. Look at the joists.
Well, I'm looking, sir.
Look.
It's like blood, sir.
SETI.
SETI, sir?
Yeah, case in England. No body, no clues. The suspicious forensic department looked under the floorboards and found blood.
No wonder Menton wanted that wall taken down. Shall I have him brought in, sir?
Bring in his son, Sergeant. But first, get the technical crowd down here.
I'll have him in your office in half an hour.
Get him into a cell, man. Have him in my office first thing tomorrow morning. I'm going home to bed.
And take heed on't. Make it a darling like your precious eye. To loosed, or to gift away, were such perdition as nothing else could match. We must remember, Adrian, that Shakespeare does not need us at all. Do not let us do the bard any favors.
Yes, he's right there.
It's just that when my grandfather is in his raucous mood, he tends to destroy concentration.
Don't worry.
Acting. Is that what they call it now? And why were you, Mary, I'd open them damn folding doors?
Shh, don't they hear you?
I don't know what to say, Morrison.
Say what Shakespeare wrote, Adrian. Good Lord, dear man. You'll hear more asides in any Shakespeare play. And mind you, they were only included because of their validity. Now, go from the last Othello speech.
That's a fault. That handkerchief did an Egyptian to my mother give. She was a charmer and could almost read the thoughts of people.
Well?
That was my dad just coming in.
Well, good Lord, child, does he not come in every evening? Look, it's simply a matter of concentration.
Who's inside?
Adrian brought a friend home with him to help him with his lines.
Lines?
The play that they're doing for the post-examination celebrations. Oh, aye. And would you ever ask that man there to give them a bit of peace?
I didn't say a word to them.
No, but you made sure that they heard you.
Why don't you leave the young to get on with the young, Da?
Young is it? Old he is. Old and queer.
Ah, come on, Da. You know all actors are supposed to be like that. I won't have anything to eat, love. Just a cup of tea.
That wasn't very good, was it?
You can only do your best, Adrian. Now, try the interior.
The interior?
You must remember, Adrian, that the handkerchief to Othello means much more than it would to any other man. Give it that meaning.
Oh, yes, I see that. The handkerchief was given to his mother by an Egyptian, though I don't see the special significance.
Damn the Egyptian. It has got nothing to do with the interior meaning.
No?
No, you are playing, Othello, as if you were a white man covered in burnt cork. Now, we are much more broad-minded these days. We can admit that Shakespeare knew about black men.
I think perhaps we came to the question tomorrow.
They're not doing any more. Must be going home.
Maybe they're down on the floor.
I thought you might like to say hello to Morris before he left now.
Ah, delighted Inspector O'Connor is the name. Morris O'Connor.
How do you do, Mr. O'Connor? Have we met somewhere before, Mr. O'Connor?
Oh, not unless we've met on the board, sir. I have never experienced the pleasure of meeting a real inspector before. A pleasure, sir.
I hope it hasn't been a disappointment, Mr. O'Connor.
Oh, I assure you, the illusion is still intact.
I suppose this is what you call groundwork, Inspector Flaherty.
Where's your son, Mr. Menton?
It'll cost the ratepayers a fair penny, I guarantee that. Damn it all, it's not enough to enter a man's house like a thief in the night, but you must take half the place away with you.
I want your son, Minister.
You must have a strong stomach, Ned. However, every man to his own taste. Find him and you can have him.
Look, this has gone beyond a joke, Mr. Menton. I have a warrant out for his arrest, and if I find
Mind how you talk to me, Ned.
If I find anything to connect you with his disappearance, I'll sling the book at you. Minister or no minister.
So you want my son for murder, eh? I'd make very sure of my facts if I were you.
The Technical Bureau have compared Conway's blood with the blood from the joists under that floor, and they match.
And that means?
That means that if your son didn't kill Conway...
I did. Is that it?
I can't stop you saying anything you wish, Minister.
Well, let me say something while you're in that mood, Ned. You've come up against me more than once. Before this case is over, I'll make you regret the day and hour you ever heard tell of me or my son. Now, get out.
You think you've had trouble with me, Mr. Menton? Let me tell you, I haven't even started standing on you. Everywhere you go, there'll be a man behind you. Every time you walk in or out of this building, you'll be followed by a man. And that's the way it's going to be until I find your son.
Get out of it!
When were you told this?
This morning. I went to get a file for the new head of department, and he said that...
He said he might have to reconsider your recommendation for a third secretaryship. But why?
Well, for the reasons he said. I don't... He said that my friendship with Morris O'Connor had been noted, and that since Burgess, the Europeans frowned on that sort of thing.
Jesus, things have changed a lot. At one time, it was more respectable than celibacy.
You think you can fix it, Grandad?
Oh, no trouble at all, son. Put it out of your head.
And Grandad?
Yes, Sundown?
Will you tell me that?
Glory be to God, of course I will.
Rotten bastard. I knew I'd seen that bloody actor before. Political jacks have used him a couple of times before this.
Now, Ned, you know the score.
It's no use, Dad. I can't drop the case. It was the police surgeon's evidence.
They'll take care of that.
Will they also take care of the technical crowd that were there?
If necessary.
And me? And Justice? Tell me if they're going to take care of Justice.
To hell with Justice, Ned. You look after your son.
I don't give a damn if he's in the bloody lavatory. Get him out here!
Inspector! Inspector!
What is it?
It's Brian Menton, sir.
Well, what about it?
He's in your office. Came there of his own accord. Says he wants to speak to you.
Want me, Ned?
You'll keep, Minister. Yes, by God, you'll keep.
I took Mr. Conway back to my office with me. It was actually on the roof.
Was that your father's idea to bring him back to the office?
All Father was interested in was getting some papers from Mr. Conway. I thought, well, God help him. Maybe I might be of some assistance to him.
In what way could you be of assistance to Conway? Money?
Well, we carry a small float at the office, Inspector, a couple of £100. If only you understood, Inspector. See, the great balm for everything in our family is money. Chap fell from a roof at work. Father was getting ready to address a meeting at the time. Give the widow some money, he said, and get somebody else to finish the job. And the kids got kisses from their fathers. I got pound notes.
Was it not your intention to attempt to buy the papers from Conway?
I wanted to help him.
And if he didn't sell them to you, you were to get them whatever way you could.
No, that's
even
not
by
so.
murdering him.
No, Inspector.
When Conway didn't want to give you the papers, you shot him.
No, Inspector, that's wrong.
Where are the papers now?
I gave them to my father. He said,
Why did you shift the body from the office?
God almighty, Inspector, have you any idea what my father would have said had he walked into the office and found a body?
What did your father say when you told him you'd murdered Conway?
I didn't murder Conway.
You didn't tell your father that Conway was dead?
Well, yes, I told him Conway was dead.
Now, how did he react? Was he pleased? Was he angry? Was he annoyed at the inconvenience?
Well, he told me to talk to nobody.
And he was afraid you'd be found out.
Found out?
Don't you know that murderers are always found out?
For God's sake, Inspector, Conway committed suicide.
Was that before or after he walked home? Come on, convince me. Now, don't appeal to him. Convince me. I bring the case or I don't.
I was at the safe. I had it open. I had it click behind me. I turned and saw Conway with a gun, cocked. I thought to myself, he's going to kill me. He had the same look in his face as his son when I confronted him. And suddenly he aimed the gun at his own forehead.
He was shot in the side of the head.
I jumped on him. I tried to grab the gun. His finger must have been on the trigger. It went off with an unmerciful explosion. There was blood everywhere.
He was holding the gun.
I couldn't get it from him.
I repeat the question. He was holding the gun when it went off, right?
I could nearly swear to it.
Who helped you carry the body to your car?
I rolled it in the carpet and pulled it to the outside passage. Then I put it on a T-trolley and took it to the lift. From the lift, it was easy to get it to the car.
No, he's innocent.
But the evidence against him, sir, is huge. Manslaughter, at least.
The gun wasn't in Conway's hand, we know that. But he's not lying. Panic. Sheer bloody panic. Now he's innocent.
Well, what do we do now, sir? Drop the case?
No, not yet. Not just yet.
I have nothing against a man being a bit queer, Ned, but, well, the diplomatic service looks at things differently to people like you and me.
My son is no more queer than you are, Mr. Mann.
Did I say that he was? Besides, according to the way I heard it, the only thing the service was worried about was the company he was keeping.
Company that you planted on him.
Me? Did I introduce him to O'Connor? Give me credit for something, man.
I give you credit for cunning, Minister, that's all.
That's not exactly the attitude of a suppliant, is it?
Suppliant? I didn't come here to beg, you know.
My son is innocent, and you know it. My nose is clean, and you know it. But you and your Adrian, there won't be a hole deep enough for the two of you to creep into.
You destroy my son to save yourself?
I die to protect my own son.
To protect your own political future, you mean?
My future and Brian's are synonymous.
Oh, middle-aged bastard. He's never even had a past.
And what future will your son have in a world that brands him as a queer?
Or yours as a suspected murderer?
Listen. You have Brian's statement. A simple suicide, easily enough forgotten, but no, you have to go on digging. For God's sake, man, have you no sense of when to stop? Are you a man or a bloody badge?
I am one bit of this state you're not going to bend to your almighty bloody will, Mr. Patriot. Be Jesus, I have you be the short hairs. And neither blackmail nor bribery is going to save you if I choose.
My son didn't murder anyone.
Maybe not. But if I recommend prosecution, who knows what muck might come out?
What do you mean?
Your son signed a statement saying that Conway's hand was on the gun when it went off. Now, I have technical evidence to the effect that Conway never fired that gun.
No. How the hell can you prove that?
Because the forensic boys found no powder burns on the dead man's hands.
But you told Brian.
No, I don't disbelieve your son, Minister. It's very often that a witness forgets a small detail like that.
Well, then my son is innocent.
That depends.
But you know that he's innocent.
Not if my son is guilty.
And you have the audacity to accuse me of blackmail. You're a bloody crook, Flaherty. Still, you're the son of an old comrade. Come on, man. Let's have a drink before you go. Come on.
I'm sorry, Minister. I couldn't take the risk of becoming an old comrade of yours.
Well, sir, what's it to be? Do we prosecute?
No. You send the papers to the Attorney General's office with a recommendation not to proceed. You can always reopen the case should the need arise.
Need, sir?
I need a bath. As the fella said, lie down with pigs and you're sure to come up smelling.